Hare Krishna.
Yeah. The one who understands the difference between the body. Surrender unto me. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavadgita, Krishna discussed how karma, action on the platform of knowledge, leads to bhakti. In the second 6 chapters, Krishna spoke directly of himself and the glories of devotional service. In the third 6 chapters, beginning with chapter 13, Krishna discusses how jnana leads to bhakti. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
No. So therefore, in the last 6 chapters, speaks about how jnana leads to bhakti. That is the thing. So this is what Burijan has to write in his book, Surrender Unto Me. What is surrender unto me? All of you might be till now, you have finished 2 units of Bhagavad Gita, 12 chapters. Surrender unto me is a commentary written by Burijan Prabhu. His Grace Burijan Prabhu, who is the founder of Vrindavan Institute of Higher Education. So he has written, before Gaurang Darshan Prabhu's book came, we had Burijan Prabhu's book. And God Gaurang Darshan Prabhu has compiled his book is based on, to some extent, Burijan Prabhu's book and Vishwan Chakra Thakur's commentary of Gita Shubhodhini. So Surrender Unto Me is a commentary given by Burijan Prabhu on flows, connections, themes, and some practical applications what we can drive home from Bhagavad Gita. Because the third unit is little technical. It will, when once you start 13th chapter, you'll understand what is its technicality. If we refer to Bhagavatam and some other sections, it will become very, very easy. So what Arjuna begins chapter 13 by asking about 6 topics. Yes, continue, Chandramouli.
Yes, Prabhuji. Arjuna begins chapter 13 by asking about 6 topics. Arjuna requests knowledge about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, Kshetra, the field of activities, Kshetra Jnana, the knower of the field of activities, Jnanam, knowledge, and Jnayam, and the object of knowledge. Krishna immediately begins to address Arjuna's third topic by identifying the body as the field, Kshetra. He also deals with the fourth topic by saying that the soul is the knower of the field, Kshetrajnana.
Yes. So what is the connection from the 12th chapter to the 13th chapter? 12th chapter concludes with the Bhakti. 13th chapter begins with the questions regarding that knowledge which leads to Bhakti. So let's start the text one. As usual, the content has a lot of colors. Yellow, blue. Let's just try to. Yes. We'll recite this. Arjuna Vacha Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajna Mevacha Etad Veditum Ichchami Jnanam Deyam Cha Keshava. So this is the first verse. Arjuna is asking these questions. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva. What is Prakriti? Who is Purusha? Cha Eva. And what is Kshetra? Cha Eva means and what, and again, what is Kshetram? What is Kshetrajnam? Eva Cha, and one more, 2 more questions are there. Etad Veditum Ichchami. I want to understand this. Oh Krishna, Keshava, who has killed the Keshi demon. So these are the questions which I'm having. And along with that, I have 2 more questions. Jnanam and Geyam. Prakriti, material nature. Purusham, there are 2 Purushas. One is soul and super soul. Kshetram is the body. Kshetragya, knower of the body, soul and super soul. Jnanam, there are 20 items of knowledge. Bhakti is a Jnanam. And how to attain that Bhakti, Krishna speaks it elaborately from verse number 8 to 13. And what is Gayam? And what is the object of knowledge? Soul and super soul. Basically, the answer for the 6 questions is matter, spirit, that is soul, controller of both super soul. This is the answer. And the Bhakti, the 4th answer. And the ways for cultivating Bhakti, these 5 themes answers, Krishna is going to answer in these 5 themes. The components of the material world, and then Krishna is going to speak about the origin of the material world. He is going to speak about the soul, super soul, who are the object of knowledge, and who are the knower of the field of activity. So it will become clear to all of you once we go ahead with answer of Krishna, which he answers in the second verse. So first and second verse are combined. In some places it is one, and then Krishna replies it. But the way Prabhupada has compiled it is together. So Shri Bhagavan Yuvacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram Iti Avidyate Etad Yo Vettitam Prahu Kshetrajna Iti Tadvidaha. So Bhagavan Krishna answers the question to third and fourth question. He answers third and fourth question in the second verse. Idam Shariram Kaunteya, this body, Kaunteya, O Arjuna, son of Kunti, Kshetram iti abhidite. This body is known as Kshetraha. Etadyo Vetitam Prahu, Kshetrajna iti Tadvida. And one who resides in the body or one who knows this body is called the Kshetrajna. And there are two personalities who reside in the body. One is soul and another is super soul. So directly goes to Purusha Prakriti, Kshetra Kshetragya, then Jnanam Deyam. So directly Krishna takes up third and fourth answer question. Yes. So how should we proceed with reading? Should I call out devotees to read? You will read, or we should allot some number? Okay, because it's the beginning, I'll just directly speak to devotees. Dasashvu we can start with. I'm able to see you only at the beginning. You read this translation.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Arjuna said, "Oh my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, the field and the knower of the field, and of knowledge and the object of knowledge." The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and no one knows this body, and who knows this body is called the knower of the field." Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Be clear. Body is a field, Kshetra. Kshetra generally refers to the field. And what is that? That is the body. And one who knows this body, there are two knowers, soul and super soul. That is what, this is very simple. It's not, if you are very attentive, it's like we are putting a foundation. We are digging the foundation of a building. And if you are very attentive and if you are participating and you are attending this first session, the next session, 5 sessions of this 13th chapter will be very clear. If you miss this part, it's like foundation. Next part, they are not interconnected, but they are connected in terms of one first brick on that, the second brick, third brick. If the first brick is not there, second brick will be near. So that understanding will not be very clear. So yes, Prabhu, please read the purport. Dasashvu.
Sorry, I was reading on mute, Prabhuji. Kshetra, the field, Kshetragna, its knower. Arjuna was inquisitive about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, Kshetra, the field, Kshetragna, its knower, and knowledge and the object of knowledge. When he inquired about all these, Krishna said that this body is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. This body is the field of activity for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is entrapped in material existence, and he attempts to lord it over material nature. And so, according to his capacity to dominate material nature, he gets a field of activity. The field of activity is the body. And what is the body? The body is made of senses. The conditioned soul wants to enjoy sense gratification, and according to his capacity to enjoy sense gratification, he is offered a body or field of activity. Therefore, the body is called Kshetra, or the field of activity for the conditioned soul. Now, the person who should not identify himself with the body is called Kshetragna, the knower of the field. It is not very difficult to understand the difference between the field and its knower. The body and the knower of the body. Any person can consider that from childhood to old age, he undergoes so many changes of body and yet is still one person remaining. Thus, there is a difference between the knower of the field of activities and actual field of activities. A living conditioned soul can thus understand that he is different from body. It is described in the beginning, Dehin Yosmin, that the living entity is within the body and that the body is changing from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to youth, and from youth to old age. And the person who knows the body knows that the body is changing. The owner is distinctly Kshetragna. Sometimes we think I'm happy, I am a man, I'm a woman, I'm a dog, I'm a cat. There are the bodily designations of the knower, but the knower is different from the body. Although we may use many articles, our clothes, etc., we know that we are different from things used. Similarly, we also understand by a little contemplation that we are different from the body. I or you or anyone else who owns the body is called Kshetragna. The knower of the field of activities and the body is called Kshetra, the field of activities itself. Overview of 3 sections of Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, Prabhu. So here the Srila Prabhupada purport ends here. And what follows is, it's a commentary of Chakravarti Path, Vishwan Chakra Thakur, not Baldev Vidyabhushan. Yeah. So this is about overview is by Bhujan Prabhu in his book. Srila Prabhupada only, I think it's, yes, Prabhu, you read. You read this. This is Prabhupada purport only. So after explaining about the Kshetra and Kshetragnya, Kshetra is like a farmer has a field, farm. He knows you can put here pomegranate, we can put it coconut, we can grow here rice. Andhra Pradesh, Telangana is known for rice bowl of India. So similarly in Maharashtra they grow jawar and wheat. So that field, the farmer knows this field what I should sow and at what time. So he is distinct from that field or farm. Similarly, the body, the soul knows every part of the body in one sense that whatever is utilized, whatever is needed for his basic maintenance in the material world. And also he can utilize that body for self-realization and to go back to Godhead. And therefore, each and every individual knows his own body. And therefore, it's called as Kshetragya. But in next sloka, Krishna is going to speak that I am distinct. Not only I know my body, but I know everybody's body. That is what Krishna is going to tell in the next sloka. So after explaining this thing of Kshetra, Kshetragya, Srila Prabhupada in the next paragraph speaks about what is this first 6 chapter, second 6 chapter, and third chapter, and what is the section of 13 to 18 is going to explain. So Prabhupada is going to brief about that. Yes, Prabhupada, please continue.
In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the knower of the body, the living entity, and the position by which he can understand the Supreme Lord are described. In the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the relationship between individual soul and super soul in regard to devotional service are described. The superior position of Supreme Personality of Godhead and the subordinate position of the individual soul are definitely defined in these chapters. The living entities are subordinate under all circumstances, but in their forgetfulness, they are suffering. When enlightened by pious activities, they approach the Supreme Lord in different capacities as the distressed. Those in want of money, the inquisite, and those in search of knowledge, that is also described. Now, starting with 13th chapter, how the living entity comes into contact with material nature and how he is delivered by the Supreme Lord through the different modes of curative activities, cultivation of knowledge, and discharge of devotional service are explained. Although the living entity is completely different from the material body, he somehow becomes related. This is also explained.
Yes. So the highlighted portion speaks about the present section, that how the living entity gets trapped in this body because of the fruitive activities. It speaks about what is knowledge, Jnanam, Geyam. Yes. So this is about the first 2 shlokas. Let's read what Srila Vishwan Chakra Thakur has to speak about it. Please read this also.
Let me offer my respect to Lord's Bhakti, which by its mercy resides within Gnana and other processes to a small degree in order to bring about success in those processes. In the last 6 chapters of Gita, Gnana mixed with Bhakti is delineated. Within these 6 chapters, Kevala Bhakti also is shown as supreme indirectly.
Yes. So basically, till now, what you have seen is in the first 6 chapters, basically, when you read Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is very merciful. Right from the beginning, first chapter itself, when Lord Krishna comes, Before Lord Krishna has come into the party, he is describing him as Supreme Personality of Godhead, right from the first chapter itself. That is his mercy. He doesn't want to, because somebody loves some personality. Before the description of the personality comes, before Krishna describes himself in the middle 6 chapters, Matta Paratarmnanya, Kinshidasti Dhananjaya, Mai Sutram Mani Grivaiva. So Prabhupada started describing about Krishna's supremacy right from the beginning. But exclusively, if you see the 3 units, first, second, third unit, second unit directly glorifies Krishna's Kevala Bhakti. Manmana Bhavo Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskaro, Sukritinas, Dushkritinas, who is the most dear to him. First 6 chapters speaks about karma, how to perform that karma, and then it comes to the brink of Ashtanga Yoga in 6th chapter. And then last 6 chapters from 13 to 18, it's going to speak about this material world, the components of the material world, the soul, the super soul, the modes, items in different modes, food in different modes, charity in different modes. And at the end, it's going to conclude with 18th chapter. Krishna is going to summarize whatever he has spoken till now, from first chapter to 17th chapter. That is renunciation. So, last 6 chapter, what Vishwanath Chakravarti is trying to tell here is, whether it is karma, whether it is jnana, whether it is ashtanga, if the element of bhakti is not mixed, the karma will not give result. Jnana, the yogi, dhyani cannot get result if it does not mix with bhakti with it. And ashtanga will not get result if the element of bhakti is not there. So all these elements, yoga path is dependent on bhakti for its success. On the other hand, bhakti is independent, it's swarat. It's very nicely described by Narad Muni to Vasudev in first kind of 5th chapter. That karma, jnana, ashtanga, what is their shobha? There is no shobha. Unless bhakti is connected to it, then only they became glorious. So that is what Chakravarti was mentioning here. And this third part describes Kevala Bhakti as supreme, but indirect. So let's go to the third text. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharatah kshetra kshetrajnayor jnanam yattad jnanam matam mama. So what Krishna is saying here is answering again, continuation, that anybody who knows his body kshetrajnam, but sarva kshetreshu bharata, but I'm a special kshetrajnam. What is that? I not only know my body, but I also know all bodies. Sarva kshetreshu bharata. Kshetra kshetrajnayor jnanam yattad jnanam matam mama. Yes. Madhvi Mataji, can you read this one? You need to unmute yourself. Yes, you can read.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah. Question of Bharta. You should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. And to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Super soul is the controller of both field of activities and the finite enjoyer. While discussing the subject of the body and the knower of the body, the soul and the super soul, we shall find 3 different topics of study: the Lord, the living entity, and matter. Should I continue, Prabhu? Yeah. In every field of activities, in every body, there are 2 souls, the individual soul and the super soul, because the super soul is the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna says, I am also the knower, but I am not the individual knower of the body. I am the super knower. I am present in every body as the Paramatma or super soul. Yeah. One who studies this. Yes.
Mataji can continue.
One who studies the subject matter of the field of activity and the knower of the field very minutely in terms of this Bhagavad Gita can attain to knowledge. The Lord says, I am the knower of the field of activities in every individual body. The individual may be the knower of his own body, but he is not in knowledge of other bodies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present as the Super Soul in all bodies, knows everything about all bodies. He knows all the different bodies of all the various species of life. A citizen may know everything about his patch of land, but the king knows not only his palace, but all the properties possessed by the individual citizens. Similarly, one may be the proprietor of the body individually, but the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of all bodies. The king is the original proprietor of the kingdom, and the citizen is the secondary proprietor. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the supreme proprietor of all bodies. The body consists of the senses. The Supreme Lord is Rishikesha, which means the controller of all the senses. He is the original controller of the senses. Just as the king is the original controller of all the activities of the state, the citizens are secondary controllers. The Lord says, I am also the knower. This means that he is the super knower. The individual soul knows only his particular body. In the Vedic literature, it is stated as follows. Kshetrani hi sarirani bijam chapi subhasubhe tani vetti cha yogatma tata kshetrajna uchete. This body is called the kshetra, and within it dwells the owner of the body and the Supreme Lord, who knows both the body and the owner of the body. Therefore, he is called the knower of all fields. The distinction between the field of activities, the knower of activities, and the supreme knower of activities is described as follows. Perfect knowledge of the constitution of the body, the constitution of the individual soul, and the constitution of the super soul is known in terms of Vedic literature as Jnana. That is the opinion of Krishna. To understand both the soul and the super soul as one yet distinct is knowledge. One who doesn't understand the field of activity and the knower of activity is not in perfect knowledge. One has to understand the position of Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer of nature, and Ishvara, the knower who dominates or controls nature and the individual soul. One should not confuse the three in their different capacities. One should not confuse the painter, the painting, and the easel. This material world, which is the field of activities, is nature, and the enjoyer of nature is a living entity. And above them both is the supreme controller, the personality of Godhead. It is stated in the Vedic language in the Svetasvatara Upanishad 1.12. Bhokta Bhogyaya Preritaram Cha Matva Sarvam Proktam Trividam Brahmam Etat. There are three Brahman conceptions. Prakriti is Brahman as the field of activities, and the Jiva, individual soul, is also Brahman and is trying to control material nature, and the controller of both of them is also Brahman, but he is the factual controller. In this chapter, it will also be explained that out of the two knowers, one is fallible and the other is infallible. One is superior and the other is subordinate. One who understands the two knowers of the field to be one and the same contradicts the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who states here very clearly, I am also the knower of the field of activity. One who misunderstands a rope to be a serpent is not in knowledge. There are different kinds of bodies and there are different owners of the bodies because each individual soul has his individual capacity for lording it over material nature. There are different bodies, but the Supreme also is present in them as the controller. The word cha is significant, for it indicates the total number of bodies. That is the opinion of Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana. Krishna is the super soul present in each and every body apart from the individual soul. And Krishna explicitly says here that real knowledge is to know that the super soul is the controller of both the field of activities and the finite enjoyer.
Okay, Mataji, fine.
Thank
So
you,
what is
Prabhuji.
this with in the third shloka? Lord Krishna is answering the fifth question. In the second shloka, Krishna has answered the third and fourth question. Kshetra, Kshetragya. And that is third and fourth. And the fifth question is Jnanam. What is Jnanam? Jnanam means to understand matter, spirit, and to understand super soul or supreme personality of Godhead as a controller of both. Not to misunderstand soul with super soul. But soul is knower of its body. There is body, which is matter, soul, which is spirit, and the controller or the super knower is the super soul, is expansion of supreme person of Godhead. So Jnanam means to know the field, Kshetra, and then knower of the field, Kshetragya. And there are two knowers of the field, soul, super soul, and to know the distinction between the soul and super soul. Three factors. Jnanam means to know matter, Kshetra, spirit, Kshetragya, supreme spirit, controller of both, that is super soul. The distinction between two knowers. They are not one. They are not same. This means knowledge. This is the beginning of knowledge. And this knowledge that there is material nature, then the Jivatma, which is conditioned to the material nature, it is being sent here to enjoy. And then Krishna, who is beyond this matter, who is controlling both this matter and spirit. He is object of the knowledge. And this Jnana, which is being described in the third shloka here, how to get this knowledge. For that, from shloka 8 to 13, Krishna speaks about 20 items of knowledge, 20 ways to cultivate this knowledge in briefly. But here he has just answered what is Jnanam. Jnanam means matter is separate, spirit is separate, super soul is separate. Matter is dead, spirit is living, super soul is living, but spirit is dependent, super soul is independent and is controller of both. So what Gurujan Prabhu has to write, what Gurujan Prabhu is writing in surrender to me is, Krishna in this verse has defined knowledge as knowing the body, the soul and the super soul. He will complete his description of knowledge in texts 8 to 12 and 24 to 37 by explaining the process of achieving knowledge. So it is 6 questions will be answered. Out of this, the 5th question, Jnana, is answered in this shloka, 3rd shloka. It will be explained more elaborately from shloka number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in 5 shlokas. And then again, it will be answered from 24 to 37 shlokas. So Krishna is going to answer this 5th question. They say that the word cha, again, Prabhupada also has written it, and same thing, Baldev Dabhush also is writing his commentary. You should know that he who is the knower within the body is also me. That is cha means there are two knowers in the body. The soul is not the same as super soul. Cha indicates they are not same. If they were same, then what is the point of Krishna speaking Bhagavadgita to Arjuna? Whenever there is a tank, and tank are at two levels, same height, the water cannot flow from the same level. If the water has to flow, one should be at a different height. Then there can be transmission of water. Potential energy is more, therefore the water gets transported. Similarly, if Krishna and Arjuna were same, they were so simple souls. None of them, everywhere, both are God or both are normal. As Atish say, everyone is same. As my in person is say or Mayavadi say, everyone is God. Then there's no point to read Bhagavad of Krishna. If Krishna is same as Arjuna, then what is the point of reading Gita of Krishna, Gita Upadesh? No, there's a difference. Therefore, in second chapter, a section from 9th verse to 25th verse, Prabhupada nicely elaborates this in the section of soul. There's difference between soul, there's difference between super soul. Then after that, this knowledge has some value. Super soul means who is never subjected, is Maya Dish, is not Maya Vash. But the soul is Maya Vash. That is what Burian Pu is writing here. If the soul and the super soul are factually one as a Mayavadi's claim, how could one aspect of the one, which is by definition undifferentiated, give knowledge to the other aspect of the one? How could the other aspect be lacking? Both should be in knowledge or both should be in ignorance. How can one be in knowledge and one be in ignorance? That is not possible. Yes, what Chakravarti Pad has to say is, he gives an example of a farmer. The farmer, Kshetragya, is also the enjoyer of the fruits in the tree of the field. And he gives an analogy of a village, where village workers eat one fruit of this tree, while there are swans. There is a tree. In that tree, there is a fruit. There is a farm, and the vultures eat some kind of tree, fruit, but the swans eat another fruit. What is that vulture? Vulture are demonic people, Asurik Vritti, who are like against the will of the Lord. They eat the papa fruit. And what the swans eat? They eat the punya fruit. Based on their karma, so one who by the grace of worshipable souls understand this tree composed of Maya, that appearing in many forms, is an actual knower of the Vedas. So vultures, Grudra, sees sense gratification, and they are like the conditioned jivas who eat one fruit of this tree, misery. And even if they attain heaven, their experience is ultimately miserable. That is temporary. The swans living in the forest, however, are like liberated jivas. They eat the fruit of happiness. The complete enjoyment of liberation is derived from their experience. Basically, what is trying to tell is, there is matter, there is spirit, there is control of both. The soul has an independent choice, whether he wants to become a vulture or whether he wants to become a swan. He can become vulture in the association of such kind of demonic people, and he can become a swan-like devotee in the association of devotees, and he can become liberated, and he can go back home, back to Godhead. So therefore, one has to make use of this knowledge. What is that knowledge? I am different from God. I am not same as God. Either in qualitatively I am same, but quantitatively I'm not same. That difference will help us to become like swans. And then we can practice bhakti. But on the other hand, even if one takes up bhakti, if one takes up to so-called bhakti, understanding that I am God are same, as the Mayavadis do, as we have seen from Ishopnishad, Mantra 9, Mantra 13, Sambhutim cha vinasham cha, before that it comes that Andam tama pravishanti, ye vidyam upasate, tato bhuya ivate tamo, avidyam. So, even in the guise of spirituality, what will they be their destination? Even if they go to heaven, that is also misery. Even if they go to hell, that is also misery. Because the soul's original constitutional position is to go back and back to Godhead. Therefore, it is called as misery here. On the other hand, if one takes a bhakti, he can become liberated in the service of the Lord. That liberation is not independent of the Lord. Salokya Sharishta Samipya, Sarupekatvam Pita, Diyamanam na Grinanti Binayat Sevanam Jana. That liberation is with service, not without service. Devotees will not take that kind of liberation which is without service. So after explaining Jnanam in the third verse, so Krishna goes ahead with the fourth verse. He comes back again to explain about Kshetra, the body, the components of the Kshetra. Krishna has explained in the second verse what is Kshetra, the body is Kshetra. What is Kshetragya, the soul and super soul are Kshetragya. Third verse, there's a difference between soul and the super soul, that is knowledge. So now in the fourth verse, Krishna is going to explain about the components of that body. What this body is made up of. When he speaks about body, it refers to the whole material universe. What this material universe is made up of. Because matter basically is going to speak about the matter. For a soul, his body is a field of activity. But for the whole universe, or for all the 84 lakh species, their own body is a field of activity, as well as the whole universe, material universe is a field of activity. So Krishna is going to explain to Arjuna about the Kshetra, the components of Kshetra in the next verse. The components, the constituents, the transformations, and the foundation on this Kshetra, on which this Kshetra is made up of. And what is his influence? He's going to speak. And then Krishna is saying, me shrunu, tat samashena me shrunu. So we will go to the next verse now. Tat kshetram yaccha yadrikcha yadvikari yatascha yat sachayo yat prabhavascha tat samashena me shrunu. So it's going, what is telling? Krishna is explaining about, this is a little technical here. I just want to ask from all of you, till now all of you are okay? 6 questions. Out of 6 questions, Krishna has answered 3 questions. Kshetra, Kshetragya, and Jnana. Now he is going to zoom into Kshetra. Kshetra is matter. Soul is there, it is spirit. Super soul is spirit. Where did the matter came from? What is the root cause of the matter? What is the component of matter? What is the constituents of matter? And what is the influence of matter? That is the meaning here. Tat Kshetram. Regarding that Kshetram, I'm going to explain what? Yacha. What is meaning of Yacha? Yacha means what components it is made up of. Yacha. Okay, for example, the bottle or the home is made up of bricks, cement, silica, glass. Yacha means what are the constituents of this body or of this universe? Both are field of activities. Yadrikcha, their components and their constituents. Like there are two, chair is made up of square of 2 by 2 feet, and below there are 4 legs, and top there is a back seat to rest, and they are combined together to make a chair. So similarly, what are the different components of this Kshetra? And Yadvikari, what are the transformations this field of activity is going to have? And Yatascha, and what it rests on. Yat Prabhava, what is its influence? Cha. So these are 6 things Krishna is going to explain here about the Kshetra. It will become very clear to all of you. So in 4th shloka, Krishna is going to speak about these 6 things about the body. Yes, who's the next devotee? Who can read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. May I read?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Now please hear my brief description of this field of activity and how it is constituted, what its changes are, whence it is produced, who that knower of the field of activities is, and what his influences are.
Yes.
The Lord is described. Oh, sorry.
Yes,
Shall I
these
go ahead?
6 things Krishna is speaking. Yacha, Yadrukcha, Yadvikari, Yatascha, Ya, Prabhavaha. 6 things. What is that? What is this field of activity? Its constitution. Vikari means changes, produced. Yatascha, knower, Prabhavaha, and its influence. That is Prabhavaha. And Yacha is the knower. 6 things Krishna is going to explain about the Kshetra. Yes, Prabhu, read the purport.
Okay. The Lord is describing the field of activities and the knower of the field of activities in their constitutional positions. One has to know how this body is constituted, the materials of which this body is made, under whose control this body is working, how the changes are taking place, where from the changes are coming, what the causes are, what the reasons are, what the ultimate goal of the individual soul is, and what the actual form of the individual soul is. One should also know the distinction between the individual living soul and the super soul, their different influences, their potentials, etc. One just has to understand this Bhagavadgita directly from the description given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all this will be clarified. But one should be careful not to consider the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every body to be one with the individual soul, the Jiva. This is something like equating the potent and the impotent.
Yes. So now Burijan Prabhu explain the same Prabhupada purport in the way we can understand it. So Burijan Prabhu says here, Krishna raises 5 points in this verse regarding the body or the material world. Body and material world, both are like integration from 0 to infinity, it becomes a material world. So Krishna has 5 points in this verse, which he will elaborate on later in this chapter. What is the first thing? How the body is constituted. What is the constitution of the body? It is explained in the next verse. I think we are seeing in the 4th verse now. After this, Krishna says that I've heard it from sages and saints, from scriptures. I'm answering all these questions. I'm not answering it from my own intelligence. So regarding the first question, Yacha, Krishna will answer the constitution of this body in text 6. What changes the body undergoes? Krishna explains about this in mantra in text 7 and 20. how and when, where the body is produced. And again 6, 21 and 22. The identity of the knower of the field of activities, 14 to 18. In game, it will come again. And 23. And the influence of the knower, 14 to 18. Okay. The influence of the knower refers to super soul. And identity of the knower is soul and super soul both. So all this 5, according to Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is raising 5 points here. So all these 5 points are going to go from till next 23 verses. You'll understand it. So just keep these words in your dictionary. What are the words? Again, Baldevita Bhushan also tries to tell here. Hear from me briefly about the body. Kshetram. What is that? What are the different things Krishna is going to speak about the body? Its basic components are dravya. What is elements? Panchamahabhut, Sukshma Sharira, and all the 24 elements. That is dravya, components, yacha. And what it gives shelter to? It gives shelter to its content, yadrikcha. It gives shelter to Gyanendriya, Karmendriya, mind, so intelligence, false ego. It shelters. Its transformation, yadvikari. What are the transformations? Some transformation happens inside the mind. Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. And some transformation happens in the gross body. What is that? Birth, old age, disease, death. Before that, the 6 changes: birth, growth, maintenance, production of byproducts, dwindle, death. 6 changes any body undergoes. We have seen it in the 17th chapter, 17th mantra of the Ishopanishad. Anila, when the Swayambhu Manu is telling, let this my body, totality of my body merge with the air. There, Prabhupada starts the purport with this. There's body. Body is like a garment and it has 6 changes: birth, growth, maintenance, byproduct, dwindle, death. That is yad vikari. The purpose of its appearance, yataha. What is the purpose of this body? Its swarupaha. What its original swarupa, yat. The knower of the field, the jiva and the Lord, Satsang. So Baldevita Bhushan compromises here how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And yet Prabhava 7. So different acharyas have their own liberty to explain what Krishna is going to speak about. So now Krishna is explaining about the third question, Kshetra. What its constituents are, what is the purpose, what it's based on, who is the knower, and what its influence. So link from 4 to 5 is Krishna is as an ideal teacher, Jagat Guru. He doesn't want to cook some story or cook some meditation techniques or start a parampara on his own. Arjuna is the ideal disciple, Krishna is the ideal guru. So he wants to tell him that this information, he's telling in the 4th verse that I will briefly describe about these things. But if Arjuna wants to know it in detail, where he can find it, he's giving that hint. However, should Arjuna wish to know them in detail, greater detail, you are describing this briefly. Arjuna may ask a question to him, or Arjuna may start thinking when is Krishna answering these 4 shlokas. Krishna has first question, first shloka, Arjuna has asked 6 questions. Then 2nd, 3rd, 4th, Krishna told briefly the answer for this 6 questions. And Arjuna may want to know it in more detail. So Krishna is giving a hint to Arjuna where he can get this knowledge in more detail. So we are discussing this briefly. Who then has discussed this in detail? Krishna next tells Arjuna where such information can be found. This is one theme where Burijan Prabhu is connecting this 4th and 5th verse. Second theme Prabhupada is going to connect is even Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is not very proud to use Guru Sadhu Shastras. Ideal Guru, he refers to Shastra and he refers to Sadhus. So here, Krishna as a Jagat Guru is setting a standard for the bona fide spiritual master. He should never speak anything without reference to Shastras and without reference to previous Acharyas. And therefore, Krishna as a Jagat Guru, he is trying to set a standard for people to come in future who would like to become spiritual master. They should not become self-styled spiritual masters and start organization on their own. They should quote from scriptures. They should quote from previous acharyas and mahajanas. That is what Krishna is trying to speak. Fifth verse. Two things. In more detail, if Arjuna wants to know about this 5-6 questions, he can find it in Shruti, Smruti, Nyaya, and he can find it from acharyas. And second thing he wants to set a standard for the gurus to come. One should not become a self-styled guru, but one should become a guru based on Vedic scriptures and previous acharyas from the footsteps of Mahajanas. Therefore, Krishna is quoting the next shloka. Rishbir Bahuda Geetam Chandobir Vividai Pratak Brahma Sutra Padaishaiva Hetumadbir Vinishchitaha. Hetu is cause and effect. Creation. This creation is created. It has a cause. It has an effect. Material world is not without a cause. Hetu madbir matlab somebody has created it, and we are the effect. The whole material world, 84 lakh species, their interact. Material world is the effect. So, telling Rishi Arjuna, this has been described by all the rishis in detail in Chandobir, Vividai Pratak. In different ways explained in Shruti. Chando means Shruti, Smriti, Nyaya, which was in by introduction of Ishopanishad, that their Vedas are compiled into 3 parts. Shruti, Smriti, Nyaya. Chandobhya here refers to Shruti. And then Brahma Sutra Padeshaiva. What is Brahma Sutra? Vedanta Sutra. That is Nyaya. Hetumadbir Vinishchitaha. So you can find this in Vedic literatures, and rishis have glorified it in their Gitas in Smriti. The first line refers to Shruti. The second line refers to first line refers to Smriti, second line refers to Shruti, and third line refers to Nai. So if you want to know in more detail about this material world, its cause and effect, you can find it in Smriti, Shruti, and Nyaya. Yes. Next devotee would like to read. Please read, Prabhuji.
The knowledge of the field activities and the knower of activities is described by various stages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect.
Yes.
Lord Krishna, being highest authority, gives evidence from previous authorities.
Yes, because the ideal guru, that is what Prabhupada catches that theme. Yeah, please read it.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the highest authority in explaining this knowledge. Still a matter of course, learned scholars and standard authorities always give evidence from previous authorities. Krishna is explaining this most controversial point regarding the duality and non-duality of the soul and the super soul by referring to a scripture, the Vedanta, which is accepted as authority. First, he says this is according to different sages. As far as sages are concerned, besides himself, Vyasadeva, the author of Vedanta Sutra, is a great sage. And the Vedanta Sutra duality is perfectly explained. And Vyasadeva's father, Parasara, is also great sage. And he writes in his book of religiosity, Aham Tvam Cha Tatanye, we, you, and I, and the various other living entities are all transcendental, although in material bodies, now we are fallen into the ways of 3 modes of material nature according to our different karma. As such, some are on higher levels and some are in the lower nature. The higher and lower nature exists due to ignorance and are being manifested in the infinite number of living entities. But the super soul, which is infallible, is uncontaminated by the 3 qualities of nature, and is
transcendental. I think Prabhuji left, or his internet might be unstable. Yes, somebody else can continue.
Sorry, Prabhu, I think some problem with the Wi-Fi.
Okay, please continue.
But the super soul, which is infallible and is uncontaminated by the 3 qualities of nature and is transcendental. Similarly, in the original Vedas, a distinction between the soul, the super soul and the body is made, especially in Katha Upanishad, there are many great sages who have explained this. And Parasara is considered principal among them. The word Chandobi refers to various Vedic literatures.
Yeah, till now, sorry, Prabhuji. Till now, Krishna is explaining, Prabhupada is trying to tell that when Krishna quotes previous acharyas, and he also quotes from scriptures. And what scripture speaks about cause and effect, many times impersonalists say everything is one, or everything is coming from Brahman. Mayavadis say everything is one. So Prabhupada is trying to make this again and again very clear that soul and super soul are not one. There is so much of Mayavad filled in whole Indian spiritual practice. So Prabhupada is again and again bringing the same point. He's just taking this point. The soul and super soul are not same again and again. Now, as devotees, we are practicing bhakti. So we might understand why these themes are coming again. Prabhupada is just trying to sweep the dirt from the dust of Mayavadi from the mind of those people in whose head this is filled with. And therefore, utilizing little opportunity to cleanse it. To make it very clear, Supreme Lord Krishna is separate from us. We jivas are conditioned. Supreme Lord is eternally liberated. He is not on the same platform. So now Prabhupada is going to come on Chandobi. He is going to speak about again the same thing. In what Vedic literature speaks about. Chandobi means Shruti. What Shruti is going to speak about. So he is trying to quote from Taittiriya Upanishad. Yes, Prabhuji, please read.
The word Chandobi refers to the various Vedic literatures. The Taittiriya Upanishad, for example, which is a branch of Yajurveda, describes the nature and the living entity and the supreme personality of Godhead. As stated before, Kshetra is a field of activities, and there are two kinds of Kshetras, Kshetrajna, the individual living entity and the supreme living entity. As stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.5.1, Brahma Pachamam Prashista, there is a manifestation of Supreme Lord's energy known as Annamaya, depend on food for existence. This is materialistic realization of the Supreme. Then the Pranamaya, after realizing the Supreme Absolute Truth of God, the truth in food, one can realize the Absolute Truth in the living symptoms of life forms. In Jnanamaya, realization extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and the willing. Then there is a Brahman realization called Vijnanamaya, in which the living entity's mind and life symptoms are distinguished from living entity himself. The next and the supreme stage is Anandamaya, realization of all blissful nature. Thus, there are 5 stages of Brahman realization, which are called Brahma Pacham. Out of these, the first 3, Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Jnanamaya, involves the field of activities of the living entities. Transcendental to all these fields of activities is the Supreme Lord, who is called Anandamaya. The Vedanta Sutra also describes Supreme by saying Anandamaya, Mayo, Bhayasat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is naturally full of joy. To enjoy his transcendental bliss, he expands into Vijnanamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, and Annamaya. In the field of activities, the living entity is considered to be enjoyer, and the different from his Anandamaya, that means that the living entity decides to enjoy the devototaling of himself with the Anandamaya. Then he becomes perfect. This is a real picture of Supreme Lord as the supreme knower of the field. The living entity as the subordinate knower and the nature of the field of activities. One has to search for this truth in Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra. It is mentioned here that quotes of Brahma Sutra are very nicely arranged according to cause and effect. Some of the sutras or aphorisms are Na Vyat Asret 2.3.2, Natma Suret 2.3.18, and Paratu Tu Cha Suret. The first aphorism indicates the field of activities, second indicates the living entity, and third indicates the Supreme Lord. Samam Bhonam, among all the manifestations of various entities.
And So this purport is a little technical, where Prabhupada is trying to speak about Rishibir Chandobi, Rishibir Bahuda Gitam, Chandobir Vividay Pratak, Brahma Sutra Pradesh Shaiva, Hetumadbir Vinishita. So basically, in the whole purport, Prabhupada is trying to speak about this Brahma Sutra Pradesh Shaiva, Chandobir Vividay Pratak, and Hetumadbir Vinishita. That means cause and effect. So what Prabhupada is trying to tell here is, by these koshas, there is Annamaya kosha, there is Jnanamaya kosha, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya kosha. So there are different koshas of living entity. What is different kosha of living entity? Burjan Prabhu nicely explains this Prabhupada purport. So Prabhupada has written this purport, but to understand this purport, we also need some help to understand this, why Prabhupada has written here. So there Prabhupada, what Prabhupada has written here is koshas. Why Prabhupada has written that koshas? So there, that thing Burjan Prabhu nicely explains in his commentary on the same shloka. These are basically two Vedic systems by which one progresses indirectly without discerning information realization. What are the two type of processes? Two type of processes are, one tries to understand the universe by studying his body. Okay. The second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, which Prabhupada quotes in this purport, describes one of them. And what is that called as? Vesti and Samashti. Two types of process in which the Vedic, the Vedic follower, okay, bit low. बिल्कुल थोड़ा दरवाजा बंद करोगे. It's low. Sound is low.
Okay, Prabhu. No?
Okay, na? Just try to put this and see whether it is coming. Now it is okay, or it's like increased or decreased?
It's the same process.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
It's the same with this or without this.
yes, Prabhuji.
No issue. In the Vedic system of self-realization, there are two processes. The two processes name is called as Vesti and Samasti. And here, because it is quoted from the Vedic literature, Chandobhi or Shruti, so Prabhupada is quoting one of the principles called as Vesti. That is what Burjan was trying to explain here. The second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, which Prabhupada quotes in his purport, describes that process of called as Vesti. What is that Vesti? The system in which a person directs his meditation towards the self and thus seeks to understand the absolute by considering himself a fragment of Supreme. Basically, soul is a part of the Supreme. If one understands, when grows, he is completely in Annamaya Kosh. Small child, when is born, from first day till 10 months, 2-3 years, whatever he gets, he eats. He has no discrimination. So it is called Annamaya Kosh. And then he starts thinking, okay, let me start. After once he gets food, the next thing is in threat is there. He wants to live. He wants to survive. Like you know the example of that's little bit much more higher than that is. That is animalistic. Animal wants food. And above food, animal wants to survive. You know the story of that monkey. When there was a flood, the mother monkey took the baby monkey, went on the top of a tree. The water level started raising. It came to the waist, then to the neck, then to the... When it was raising, the mother monkey was taking the baby monkey and trying to keep on the head. At some point of time, when the water level crossed the mouth and came to the nose, the mother monkey took the baby monkey and kept it down and stood on it. That is Pranamaya Kosh. That is also animalistic. And one step higher than that is Jnanamaya Kosh. What is Jnanamaya Kosh? Okay, there's something different. I'm not animal, I'm a human being. Let me try to follow some culture. Let me try to follow some Vedic literature. The next step is Vijnanamaya Kosh. where he understands that dharma, artha, kama cannot make me happy. I need moksha. So he wants to get liberated. That is Vijnanamaya Kosha. And what is Anandamaya Kosha? The Brahma and Paramatma, they are in Vijnanamaya Kosha. There is a relation of Sat and Chit feature. Then there is Anandamaya Kosha. Supreme Personality of Godhead is form. He is a Satchidananda Vigraha. That is Anandamaya Kosha. So this is a Vedic tradition of trying to understand God by understanding his, studying one's own body, which we don't have to get into it. It is so complicated. Therefore, I'm generally, Prabhupada has not mentioned it. He just had given the hint and continued there. But you may try to figure out why these koshas have come: Annamaya, Anandamaya, Annamaya, then Jnanamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. This is a way sadhakas who are following Vedic tradition, they study themselves and they understand that bliss. And that is called as Vesti. And therefore, Prabhupada is quoting this thing. Analogously, one can study the nature of the entire ocean by scrutinizing a drop. The second indirect system is called Samashti, in which one studies the entirety of the universe while considering it the body of a supreme. One thing is, one studies one's body and integrates it from 0 to infinity to the whole universe. Another thing is, one goes to the whole universe and sees it as a part, sees himself as a part. Okay, that's like something like differentiation coming from unlimited to the limited. So Vesti is going from oneself to the supreme. Samasti is going from the completeness to one's infinite to infinitesimal. These are two processes, and this is not in the Prabhupada purport. Okay, this will not come in an exam. It will not come in open book exam. But I'm trying to just explain why these koshas are being mentioned in Prabhupada's purport. Prabhupada is trying to explain a process of trying to understand Brahman, Supreme, because Krishna is quoting the 6 questions include Purusha, Prakriti, Jnanam, Gyayam, Kshetra, Kshetragya. And after quoting this, Krishna is telling, I am not speaking from myself. This can be detailed, analyzed. What questions Arjuna is asking in Dwapar Yuga, that answers are in detail explained by Rishis in Shruti, Smriti, Nyaya. But we in Kali Yuga cannot understand those things. But still, Acharyas have written the commentary of what it is trying to mean, what it's trying to explain. So therefore, I'm just trying to connect some dots which will leave you puzzled. So it is a process of trying to know Brahman, which includes of 5 koshas. It's called as 5 sheets in English. So in Vesti system, one observes encasing the living entity's consciousness. 5 koshas are sheets. All 5 are progressively developed stage of subjective individual consciousness, are self-concepts, and are also objective manifestation of Lord's energy, in which Brahman, the absolute, or the greatest, is realized, even if indirectly or relatively. So it is like, somebody gives you Rasgulla Mahaprasad, you eat like this. Or you go to Shruti Mantra, you go try to understand to the Gyan, scriptures, to Upanishads, and you do like this and come and. So therefore, what Prabhupada has given us is very, very simple. Just sit, chant Hare Krishna, take prasad, offer bhoga to the deities, dance in front of the Lord, and do some kirtan, purify and go back. The Vedic system of Jnana. Therefore, it is, you have read in the 12th chapter, Klesha Adhikataras Tesham Avyakta Chesam. This is Avyaktas. For the impersonalist, they have to go through all these things. But by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if somebody has to practice spirituality and realize himself as soul or as part of super soul, the Jnana Marga, it's so tough. So this is called Samishti and Vesti. But by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Acharyas, the path of Bhakti process is so simple. Therefore, Prabhupada is quoting Chando Bir and Hetumad Bir, the cause and effect process. Therefore, to explain that, Brahma Pucham Pratishtanam. What is the Brahma Pucham? That Brahma Pucham is the origin of everything, the origin of the whole material world. And that is mentioned in Taittiriya Upanishad. Even the soul is Brahman, and even Paramatma is Brahman. But Paramatma is Parabrahman. Okay. So what Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan has to speak about this? The Yajurveda says, even Vishopanishad also was part of Yajurveda, Shukla Yajurveda. Tasmad va etasmad atmana akasha shambhutha. Ether, this will come in 2nd canto, 6th chapter. When Lord creates the material world, he first creates the sound. Anavritit Shabdat. From sound comes space. And space mixed with touch becomes air. Air mixed with form becomes light. Light mixed with taste becomes water. And water mixed with fragrance becomes earth. This is how Panchamahabhut comes. So this is Taittiriya Upanishad begins with that. The whole origin of the universe has come from the sound factor. In this section ending Brahma Pucham Pratishtanam, Brahman is a foundation. What it means? Krishna expands into Balram. Balram expands into Chaturviva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva. Again, he expands to second quadruple. Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. And that Sankarshana becomes Mahavishnu. The Mahavishnu glances at the material nature in one corner of the spiritual sky. That one corner where it is dark, that is material world. That is called as Pradhana. So when Mahavishnu glances in that one portion of the spiritual sky, he lies there and from his body emanates unlimited material universes. And he, as Garbhodaksha Vishnu, goes and sleeps inside each and every universe. And from Garbhodaksha Vishnu comes Brahma. And from that Brahma, he creates 84 lakh species. So who is the source? Matter doesn't come from matter. Matter comes from spirit. So in Sanskrit, the spirit is called as Brahman. So Brahman is the cause of the universe. But as many times people misunderstand, this Brahman is referring to Supreme Brahman, Parabrahman. That is Mahavishnu, who is expansion and expansion and expansion of Krishna. So this is how what Taittiriya Upanishad speaks about the creation of the universe. Why? Because Krishna has asked, Krishna is saying that I'll try to explain to you the component of this universe. So before understanding component of the universe, yatcha, yadrikcha, yad vikari, yatascha, yat prabhavaha, and what is the foundation? He's telling foundation is Brahma Pucham Pratishtanam. Brahman is the foundation of this universe. The 5 Purushas consisting of food, prana, mind, knowledge, and bliss are described. The first 3, food, prana, and mind, are material, comprising the Kshetra, that is body. Kshetra, Kshetragya. The food, prana, and mind, that is Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Jnanamaya. It is about the bodily concept of life. But the next Purusha, when the soul realizes that he is separate from this body, that is Vijnanamaya. That is Jivatma. And the enjoyer of the Kshetra are the body. And the next step is what Vishnu Chakravarti has to write about this is that Kshetra, Kshetragya, Kshetra is Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya is Kshetra. Dead matter. But the Vijnanamaya is soul and Anandamaya is super soul. Okay? So therefore Krishna is quoting, if Arjuna wants to know the 6 questions in detail, it is mentioned in Shruti, Smriti, Nyaya, and that Taittiriya Upanishad speaks about the beginning of this universe, because these 6 questions are related to this material world. But the source of material world is Brahman, Brahma Pucha Pratishtanam. And in that, in this material creation of the material world, there is dead matter, Kshetra, that is Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya. Then there is Vijnanamaya, that is Kshetragya, and there is Anandamaya, that is supernover or super soul or supreme personality of Godhead. So therefore, different from that, at the end of the sequence is Anandamaya Purusha, the Supreme Lord, who is also Kshetragya. Thus, this truth is to be found in the Vedas. Till now, it is clear to all of you.
Prabhuji,
Can
I ask you something?
Yeah.
So you say Pranamaya and Annamaya, Pranmaya, and Gyanmaya are the Kshetragya part, like the field of activities.
Kshetra.
Kshetra. It's a field of activities. And Vijnanmaya is soul and Anandmaya is super soul.
Yes, that is what Baldev Devbhushan, Acharya is right.
So
That
if
is why
somebody reaches the, like it says, the first three layers, which are Annamaya, Pranmaya, and Gyanmaya, it's a field of activities of the living entity, and he's trying to be the enjoyer in that field.
yes, basically he's in bodily concept of life. It is more or less animalistic.
Okay. So once he raises his consciousness towards the Vigyanmaya, then he's going towards the spiritual.
Yes. That is Brahma and Paramatma. And Anandamaya is Bhakta.
Sorry, Prabhuji, say it again.
Yes. Vijnanamaya is Brahman and Paramatma realization.
Oh, Brahman and Paramatma realization. Okay.
And when one becomes a devotee, he understands Bhagavan, that is Anandamaya.
Oh, very nice.
Okay. So we have just got 5 verses. Anybody has any questions? Hope. Only this part, the first 7 verses is little, what do you say, little technical. If you read first canto and second canto of Bhagavatam, first 3 cantos of Bhagavatam, this is elaborately described there. As Krishna is telling, Rishabhi, Bahuda, Geetam, Chandobir, Vividai Pratak. So Vyasadeva has explained it elaborately in second and third canto of Bhagavatam. No questions? Till now it's very clear. 6 questions. Kshetra, Kshetragya, Purusha, Prakriti, Jnanam, Geyam. Till now Krishna has answered Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnanam. And then if you want to know in more detail, you can go to Bhagavatam or you can go to Shruti Mantra, Krishna is telling. And then he's giving a little hint. Hetu Madbir, Vividai Pratak. In the last line of the 5th verse, Hetu Madbir, cause and effect. That cause and effect is very nicely explained in Canto 2, Canto 3. And therefore, Prabhupada brings that Brahma Pucham Pratishtanam. And the Vedic tradition of trying to realize the Supreme by different koshas. There are different form of realization, raising one's consciousness from the body platform to Anandamaya platform of a devotee. It's about different level of consciousness. So after explaining this, Krishna goes back to explain 4th verse. What is the 4th verse? Yatcha, Yadrikcha, Yadvikari, Yataschayat. That is the link. Okay. So here Krishna gives a more detailed explanation of the field of activities. In 4th verse, Krishna has explained about these 5 themes. So now in 6 and 7, Yatcha is answered in 6th verse, and Yadrikcha, Yadvikari is answered in the 7th verse. Okay. Yatcha, Yadrikcha, Yadvikari, and Yat. So link from 4 to 6 is what? Yatcha. What is the constituent of this Kshetra body or this universe? Describes the 24 material elements. Yadrikcha, Yadvikari, text 7 describes the qualities of the mind derived from the interactions of 24 elements. These qualities are also within the realm of the living entities field of activities. What is Yadrikcha? The gross body has a subtle body in it. And the subtle body is situated in the gross body. So constituents of the gross body is 24 elements. And the subtle body interactions are happening. Transformations happening. Happiness, distress, heat, cold, Shita, Ushna, duality. So that is one kind of Yadvikari. There is another kind of Yadvikari is transformation in the gross body. So these whole 4 things are explained in this shloka 6 and 7. Mahabhutani hankaro buddhira vyakta yevacha indriyani dashekam cha panchendriya gocharaha. So what are the constituents of the gross body? Are the gross constituent of the kshetra? Ichchadvesha shukam dukkam sangatashchetanadriti etat kshetram shamashena savikaram udaratam. So the first 6th verse speaks about the yatcha, and 7th verse, first 2 lines speaks about yadrikcha, and the last line of the 7th verse speaks about yad vikari. Okay. So next devotee can read this translation.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. The 5 great elements, false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, and the mind. The 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the agitated, the life symptoms, and the convictions. All these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions. Yet, the basic components and its contents.
1 minute, Mataji.
Okay.
So what are being spoken here? 6 and 7. This is a translation for both the verses. So 6 verse speaks about 5 great elements, Panch Mahabhut, earth, water, fire, air, ether. 5, false ego. 6, intelligence. 7, and then unmanifested, that is called as Pradhan, that is 8. Then 10 senses, that is 18. Karmendriya, Gyanendriya, 5 Karmendriya, 5 Gyanendriya, 18. And then there is mind, 19. And then there is 5 sense objects, Sparsha, Rupa, Shabda, Gandha, and Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, 5 Tanmatras, they're called sense objects. So 19 plus 4, 23. And then there is Davyakta. It becomes total 24 elements. So that is what the components of this Kshetra means. And then there is transformations like hatred, desire, hatred, happiness, distress. These are the aggregate of that Kshetra. These are the churning. These are the transformations which are happening in the subtle body. And then there is conviction, life symptoms. And at the end, there are transformations in the body. So there are around almost 3-4 questions what Krishna explained in the 4th verse. 4 contents are explained here in these 2 verses. You can read now. So this first paragraph speaks about Yacha, the basic components and its contents. First theme of the 4th verse.
Yeah. Yacha, the basic component and its contents. From all the authoritative statements of great sages, the Vedic hymns, and the aphorism of the Vedanta Sutra, the components of this word can be understood as follows. The first there are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. These are 5 great elements, Mahabhuta. Then there are false ego, intelligence, and the unmanifested stage of the 3 modes of nature. Then there are 5 senses for acquiring knowledge, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. And then 5 working senses, voice, legs, hands, anus, and genitals. And then above the senses, there is a mind, which is within and which can be called the sense within. Therefore, including the mind, there are 11 senses altogether. Then there are 5 objects of the senses, smell, taste, form, touch, and sound. Now the aggregate of these 24 elements is called the field of activity. If one makes an analytical study of these 24 subjects, then he can very well understand the field of activity. Next.
1 minute. Yes, 1 minute. I'll just try to scroll it down.
Yes. Next is Yadrakcha, qualities of mind derived from interaction of 24 elements. Then there are desire.
Before going ahead, Mataji, I'll just try to show one PPT from 2nd canto,
Okay.
which will explain these things very clearly. So what Prabhupada is trying to speak here, as Krishna is indicating, if you want to know in more detail, please refer to Brahma Sutras. So Krishna has revealed it to Brahmaji. What is that? Yata Srishtam. There it is same thing. Yatcha, Yadrikcha, Yad Vikari, Yataschayat. Same 6 questions Narad Muni is asking to Brahma. And Brahmaji is answering it. Karan Srishti, Yata Srishtam. So Mahavishnu, he glances the Prakriti. By what? Time factor, by the action reaction of the Jivatma in previous Before the creation of this universe, the jivas are eternal. Creation starts. Before also creation was there. So there's no time factor in this creation. Therefore, the karma and the swabhava, the nature. Like when I sleep today, I sleep with some time domain. I have done some activity. Yesterday, I've eaten some food which is having some food poisoning element. Then I knew I should not have done it, but because I have given into it, I have a particular swabhava. So when I get up in the morning, after some time period, my stomach starts paining because of the karma which I have done of eating it. And swabhava is to complain. अरे मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों होता है? Same thing happens with the Jivatma. This is just a sleep. But for Jivatmas, at the end of Pralaya, when Mahavishnu takes up all the living entities, all the Jivatmas with their Kala, Karma, Swabhava, they go into the navel of Mahavishnu, other pores of Mahavishnu. Then at the next creation, they again sprung up. So when Mahavishnu glances, that glance is nothing but Kala, that is Lord Shiva. And the nature, the material nature is Kali or Durga. So Lord Shiva comes in touch with Durga through the glance of Mahavishnu. He impregnates all the living entities along with the Kala, Karam, Swabhava into the womb of material nature. That is Pradanaha. So now here till now what it is? Till now it is only what? Now they are into the womb of Mother Durga Devi. So this is pure mode of goodness with some element of passion for creation to start. Three modes are inactive: unmixed, undifferentiated state. Like you want to make a chapati, you take atta, mix it, make it into different parts. It is just atta mixed and made chapati. It is big lump of dough. From that you can make puri, from that you can make chapati, from that you can make samosa. Nothing is very clear. It's just pradhan, which Mahavishnu, the pores from the Mahavishnu, the material universe come. In that the Garbhodaksha Vishnu goes and sleeps. From his navel comes Brahma. He starts creating the material world. Okay. Next, Mahat Tattva. What is Mahat Tattva? The Pradhana mixed with three modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. Time factor comes into the feature. Time gets activated. So then it becomes three modes are activated. Pradhana means three modes are not active. But when Pradhana, when you take that atta and you start making different golas to roll chapati, that becomes Mahatattva. Okay, so that Mahatattva in three parts: Mahatattva in Sattva, Mahatattva in Rajas, and Mahatattva in ignorance. So Mahatattva in Sattva is called as Mahatattva, Mahatattva in Rajas is called as Sutra Tattva, and Mahatattva in ignorance is called as Ahankaraha. It is in ignorance. Now if you see carefully, Ahankar is also in three parts: goodness, passion, ignorance. And now if you see it carefully here, what is this here? So from Ahankara in goodness comes demigods. Ahankara in passion comes intelligence or senses or prana. And Ahankara in ignorance comes Pancha Mahabhuta and Tanmatra, sense objects. If you see, count this very clearly, goodness comes the doer, Devatas, Jnana Shakti, the mind. From goodness and Ahankara in goodness comes two things: mind and 10 sense Devatas. And from passion, Ahankara in passion comes prana, vayu, which we breathe in and air, 10 senses, Jnanendriya, Karmendriya, and then the intelligence. And Ahankara and ignorance comes the dead matter: earth, water, fire, air, ether, and sparsha, rupa, gandha, all those things. So to come here inside, if you see carefully. Yeah. So what are the five elements? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. First, what comes? Sound. From sound comes ether. Ether plus touch gives air. Air plus form gives fire. Fire plus taste gives water. Water plus smell gives earth. So now how many elements? 5 tanmatras means sound, touch, form, taste, smell. And 5 elements, earth, water, fire, ether, 5, 10. उसके बाद क्या है? कर्मेंद्रिय 10 are there, ज्ञानेंद्रिय 10 are there. You saw it here. 5 karmendriya. What are the 5 karmendriyas? Ear, Gyanendriyas, ear, eyes, skin, nose, tongue. These are Gyanendriyas. You can acquire knowledge from this. Karmendriyas, hands, feet, voice, anus, genitals. These are 10, 10, 20. After 20, there is intelligence, 21. Then there is mind, 22. And along with that, there is Ahankar and Mahatattva, 23 element. And then there is Pradhan, that is 24. So these are the 24 elements which are being spoken here. Okay. This is what Prabhupada is writing in the purport here. The first paragraph. Till now, if one makes an analytical study of the subjects, then he can very well understand the field of activity. Yes, Mataji, continue from here. Yadrakcha.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yadraksha, qualities of mind derived from interactions of 24 elements. Then there are desire, hatred, happiness, and distress, which are interactions, representations of the 5 great elements in the gross body. The living symptoms represented by consciousness and the convictions are the manifestation of the subtle body. Mind, ego, and intelligence, these subtle elements are included within the field of activities. The 5 great elements are a gross representation of the false ego, which in turn represent the primal stage of false ego, technically called the materialistic conception or tamsa buddhi. Intelligence in ignorance. This further represents the unmanifested stage of the 3 modes of material nature. The unmanifested mode of material nature are called pradhana. One who desires to know the 24 elements in detail, along with their interaction, should study the philosophy in more details. In Bhagavadgita, a summary only is given.
Yeah. So once again, I'll share that PPT. This thing will be very clear what Prabhupada is trying to tell here. Prabhupada told about this 5 elements. Earth, water, fire, ether, 5 sense objects. They are the representative of tamasa. What is tamasa? Ahankar. Ahankar is predominantly in tamasa, but in ahankar also there are 3 things: goodness, sattva, raja, tama. So in the tamasa part of the ahankar, these 5 tanmatras and 5 elements are coming. That is what Prabhupada is writing there in the purport, which Mataji just now read. Therefore, the chat makes it very clear what this purport is trying to, what Prabhupada is trying to tell in this purport. The 5 great elements are gross representative of false ego, which in turn represent the primal state of the false ego, technically called the materialistic conception of tamasa buddhi. So there is ahankara and ignorance, the ahankara and ignorance, and above that there is pradhana, mahatattva and then pradhana. This further represents the unmanifest state of 3 modes of nature. See here carefully. Just understand this concept little nicely, otherwise you'll not have any confusion. So this is in 3 modes. Ahankar is predominantly in tamas. Then it is coming from mahatattva, sutra tattva. Mahatattva and goodness is mahatattva, in rajas it is sutra tattva. But where there is no interaction of 3 modes, that is called as pradhan. Untouched by 3 modes, that is called as pradhan. So Prabhupada is basically trying to tell from tanmatra element, ahankar and ignorance is tamasa, then there is rajas, there is sattva, and then there is a situation where there is untouched by 3 modes, that is pradhan. So these are the different constitutions of the material creation. Yes. And one who desires to know the 24 elements in detail along with their interactions should study the philosophy in more detail. That is the reason I'm quoting 2nd canto, 3rd canto graph, so that you can understand in more detail, because Bhagavadgita is only a summary. That is what Prabhupada is trying to conclude here.
So Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, the pradhan thing only has the kal, karma and swabhava.
Yes, that is from previous creation.
Or from previous creation.
Yes.
So every living entity, when it is after the unmanifestation of the universe, it goes back to Mahavishnu's navel with
Yeah,
kal,
pralaya.
karma and swabhava of everything.
After Mahapralaya. Brahma, at the end of day of Brahma, the navel of Brahma, Brahma is sitting on the Garbhodaksha Vishnu. He goes into Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Then from there, the whole universe goes into the pores of Mahavishnu. And then in the next creation, with Kala Karma Swabhava, they come. That is unmanifested. That is like predominantly in goodness with some element of passion. Because creation means some passion has to be required there. But it is untouched. It's called Pradhan. Kala Karma Swabhava. And Pradhan, when it mixed with the three modes, it becomes Mahatattva. And Mahatattva in three modes is goodness, Mahatattva. Passion, it becomes Sutra Tattva. In ignorance, it becomes Ahankar. Because material world is like when you go to see a movie, if you want to enjoy a movie, materially you may be suffering. But when people go and sit in a movie, then all lights are off, the screen is put, the screen reel is moving, the projection is done, the person forgets all his life. So similarly, the soul has to be put in ignorance. So Ahankar does the whole thing. The soul is spiritual. Then Ahankar and goodness gives its mind. Each sense devatas are there. Then the intelligence, and then the sheath, karmendriya for doing activities, gyanendriya for acquiring how to enjoy. Then there is body, panchamahabhut, and to enjoy tanmatras, sparsha, rupa, gandha, all those things are there. So basically, this is called kshetra.
Basically, people who are in mode of goodness also are under the influence of false ego.
People in mode of goodness are also in
false ego, because the ahankara is under the mode of goodness gives you.
In material world, even if a person is in goodness, he is in material world only. It is predominantly in tamasa only. Because anybody who has a body, the body, all these 24 elements are coming from tamoguna only. Ahankar in mode of goodness. False ego is in ignorance. Unless otherwise they come to Krishna's lotus feet, that is called as Vasu Tattva or Shuddha Sattva. Unless otherwise they take up to Bhakti, nobody can escape the three modes.
Prabhuji, of the living entities, when they go back to Mahavishnu's navel, at that point when they're going back, whatever karma, swabhava they have, they go with that, and when it is manifested again, they're again carry on that swabhava and karma? Yes. It's okay.
Like
so
yesterday,
it never ends.
It never
ends. It just follows us life after life and creation after creation.
Yes. It only ends when we, out of our own sweet will, tell Krishna, I want to practice Bhakti and I want to come to you. Krishna doesn't want to force anyone. So Krishna is detached. Therefore, it's called renounce. One of the opponents of Krishna is Vairagya.
Renunciation.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes, Mataji, please continue with this purport.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yat body is Sarupa and Yat Vikrati transformation or changes in the body. The body is representation of these factors and there are changes of the body, which are six in number. The body is born, it grows, it stays, it produces byproducts, then it begins to decay and at the last stage it vanishes. Therefore, the field is a non-permanent material thing. However, the Kshetrajna, the knower of the field, is proprietor is different.
Yes. So basically, Krishna explains in the 5th, 6th, and 7th verse about the first 4 aspects. Yat, Yatcha, Yadrikcha, Yat, Yadvikari. So body is a shelter for all the material enjoyment. Constituent of the body is 24 elements. And Yadrikcha is the transformation which happens inside its own mind by senses coming into sense objects. Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. And then Yadvikari, the transformation which happens in the body in one's life. 6 changes. So therefore, but Kshetrajna is different from this. He is not in this. Kshetrajna is a knower of this. So what Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan has to tell? So Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan is trying to tell here, the elements starting with the Pradhan, which I showed, Kalakaram Swabhava, and ending with the 5 gross elements. They're the grossest, they're the lowest. So the whole graph should come in front of your mind. So are the basic components of the field indicated by the word Yacha in the verse 3. The senses such as the ear. Here when he's speaking about verse 3, this is actually verse 4. Baldev Vidyabhushan has taken the first and second verse as verse 1. So in that way, the verse 4 which Prabhupada has taken becomes verse 3 for him. The senses such as ear and the sense objects such as sound are what takes the shelter of the field. Senses basically are Yadrik. Basically senses which lie on the body, they are Yadrik according to him. Desire and other qualities are the effects of the field. Shita, Ushna, duality which happens in the mind is good, bad. That is he categorizes as Yadvikari, transformation in that field. The body of the field is a support for the jiva. The body, when a mother and father come together, the jiva takes shelter of the body. Therefore, the support for the body, yat, is the support. That is a body. So jiva takes shelter of the body for enjoyment or liberation, like a vulture or like a swan. This explains the word yataha, the purpose. The purpose of the body is meant for self-realization, to go back home, back to Godhead. The body is a swarupaha of the field. These are the explanation of the verses 4 according to Baldev Vidyabhushan. Yes, somebody else can read this last section. This is the last verse which we are going to conclude today. What Burijan has to speak about this verse?
Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
I'll read Prabhu.
Huh?
The field of activities for the conditioned soul can be compared to a playground in a backyard surrounded by a big fence. The child playing there has a freedom to play as he wishes, but he cannot extend his activities beyond the allotted field. He is limited by the fence. Similarly, the living entity is limited by the interactions of his body, mind, and karma, which constitute his field of activities. An earthworm, for example, has a very small field of activities. He cannot read, write, jump, or run. He can simply crawl through the dirt surface when it rains and crawl back into the soil when the rain stops. A dog has a relatively larger field of activities and a human being a still larger one. One's kshetra is based on his karma. A wealthy child will possess many toys to play within his backyard, but he is still restricted by the fence. Although he may be proud of the scope of his playground and even think himself happy and free with his swing and toy car and sandbox, he is nevertheless absorbed only in an insignificant backyard. He knows nothing of the life beyond the fence. Similarly, the living entity, according to the limitations of body and mind he has received through his karma, cannot see beyond his limited field of activities. Every living entity, kshetra, is arranged by his karma through the agency of Maya. Krishna, therefore, is not partial, but partial because, as the super soul, the knower of all kshetras, he simply sanctions the awarding of each living entity's field of activities.
Yes. That is the
So the
conclusion.
smaller the field, the better, Prabhu. Is that what they're saying?
No. What they are telling is you're a doctor, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
So animal has the same disease, human has the same disease. But animal have a veterinary doctor, human being has a specialized doctor. Basically, what they're trying to tell is, based on one's kala karam swabhava, whether he utilizes, whether he becomes demonic, whether he becomes divine. He becomes demonic, his influence is limited. He sinks into the 84 lakh species, like earthworm. Earthworm is like, a person, a living entity who has done such horrible bad karma or misuses independence. So he becomes an earthworm. And what he can do, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know there is something like human species existing. When rain comes, he just makes some holes and gets into it, and that's it. from our point of view, it's complete ignorance, right? But the same thing compared to some other animal like dog and cat, it can go from one place to another place. So Jalajana Lakshani, Stav Laksham Shruti, Krimika Rudra Sankekya, and Pashuva Trimsha Lakshani. So this Pakshi Dashalakshani and Manushya Lakshani. So based on one's elevation of consciousness, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, based on one's free will, one's karma changes. So one can do performance actions. Based on that, one's consciousness can be elevated. Somebody does Asurena Mate Loka Andena Tamsavrata, goes against the Ishavasham principle, he sinks down in the 84 lakh species. Somebody follows the Ishavasham principle, he rises to the Vijnanamaya Kosha to Anandamaya Kosha. Therefore, example of that, a boy is given. Even though one may be born as a rich man's son, but he has a fence. He has his boundary. He cannot go beyond that boundary. So that means a human being is conditioned in the material world by the three modes, from pradhan down to gross matter. So basically, soul is entangled in this kshetra. So that boy is compared to the soul, and his kshetra, the field of activity, is his backyard or his room where he has a lot of toys, but he cannot go beyond that because that is his safety, that is his limit. Similar soul, when it comes to the material world, it gets a body. Earthworm gets its particular body, reptile gets its body, a plant gets its body, a demigod may get its body, a Brahma may get its body. But according to his body, he has his limitations. He is not supreme controller, he is dependent. Based on his kala, karma, subhava, then he lords over it. But who is intelligent? Intelligent is one who comes to knowledge that I am not supreme controller. I am cooperator. I am matter. I am different from matter. I am part and parcel of Krishna. When it comes to Vijnanamaya, then to the brink of Anandamaya, he gets liberated. So how to achieve that knowledge? Krishna tells in 8 to 13 verses. There is a connection. This child is playing in his backyard, but what he has to do by which he can get full freedom to go and play in the playground of the spiritual world, that full freedom can be achieved by the Jivatma when he acquires full knowledge. Especially that knowledge is Bhakti. How to achieve that Bhakti? Process of achieving that Bhakti. We have seen it in Ishopanishad mantra 9, 10, 11. Comparison of knowledge. So mantra 11 speaks about Jnanam. Vidyam, avidyam cha mrityam tirtva vidyam amritam ashnute. So avidyam is referring to the rules and regulations which he has to follow to not commit sin. And vidya is bhakti process which he has to perform. That vidya. We have seen that Prabhupada quotes 20 items of knowledge, which had not described it elaborately there in that purport. But we will discuss in elaborately the next section. That vidya, how to achieve that bhakti. It has 20 items of knowledge. That is what Krishna is quoting in the next 8 to 13 verses, by which the Jivatma who is born in this body can be freed. Okay, Mataji? So it's not about...
Thank you.
Yes, based on one's karma, one rises or one sinks. And how one can become free from this bondage? For that there is vidya. Avidyam mrityam tirtva, vidyam amritam ashnute. Therefore, this connection between Ishopanishad and this third unit of Bhagavad-Gita. Till first and second unit was like, for you. The first unit was little tough. Second unit was very easy. Again, when it comes to third unit, it is very technical. So therefore, you will get to relate many Ishopanishad concepts here. Yes. Okay, if none of you have any questions, then we'll be here. It's already 8:30. Yes.
Even this from Annamaya Kosha to Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya, that knowledge on intelligence also based on the previous karma, or is it something else, Prabhu?
Everything is based on previous karma only. See, if somebody has a previous karma, according to that karma, he gets a kala time factor, then swabhava comes. karma you've done previous life, according to time factor Kala, the Swabhava is designed. The Swabhava is of earth form, or it is of an animal or of a bird, whatever it is. It is just a subtle body.
My question is specific to human life, Prabhu. So some people.
Yes, specifically in human life. I'm
In
not
human
telling
life
only about animal life.
Yeah.
All 84 lakh species, 4 lakh species of human life. That 4 lakh is human life. Somebody is in Tamoguna, somebody is Rajoguna, somebody is in Sattvaguna, somebody is a mixture of all. Somebody is in Kinnara, somebody is Kim Purusha, somebody is in Patalaloka, somebody is in Nagaloka. So all 84 lakh species in that 4 lakh species are humans based on their consciousness, level of consciousness. So Veda describe about species based on their level of consciousness. And based on their karma, they have got a particular body. Therefore, how much hard you try to preach a person, he will not understand if he has not got that Bhakti Sukriti. But yes, when you are trying to give him prasad and trying to preach, you are creating his Bhakti Sukriti so that in time to come, he will pick up Bhakti.
Okay.
So
Thanks,
glory is not of the preacher. Glory is of Lord who has made all the arrangement, and he has given the preacher that intelligence, and he has given that student to receive that intelligence to understand it.
So there is no free will, Prabhu, here in this context?
No, there is free will, na. You right now you can attend this Bhakti Shastri course and chant Hare Krishna and take prasad, or you have a free will to give up bhakti and go out and enjoy life. You have free will.
Is it I'm sitting here because of my previous karma, Prabhu, or with my free will?
In previous life, you have done some sukruti, because of which, when distress is coming, you want to try to find out some solution, and you feel that all the material solution will not work for you, and you have taken up to spiritual solution. This is sukruti.
Okay.
Until the time this sukruti will continue, and you are right now you have opportunity to increase the sukruti. Also, you may not have complete sukruti, but by practicing sadhana, getting initiated, by reading Bhagavadgita, Bhagavatam, you can wind up your material business based on your intensity. Shanvata Shraddhaya Nityam Ganas Swacheshtitam Kale Nati Digirgena Bhagavan Vishati Hridi. Swacheshta. You have Swacheshta now. You have your life in your hands. You can hear Bhagavatam, you can understand Krishna, and you can wind up your business. You have full free will. But if we fall prey to the bodily enjoyment and tell anyway everything is destined, I'll just enjoy my life, then Krishna will fulfill that as super soul. Okay, matter is dead, spirit is alive. The spirit has free will, and Krishna is there to help. Okay, Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Fine, Srinivas Prabhuji.
Clear, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
So we have full free will. We can go back to in this life, or we can go in further many lifetimes. It's up to us. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
So how we can accelerate our process to go back to Godhead? That is next. Jnanam. Mantra 8 to 13. We'll discuss it in next class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.